excited. There's a bit of a spring in my step because you're going contrary to what I would assume an economist would say. I put it to you this morning. Do we have way too many public holidays in South Africa?
I can remember looking at this a few years ago and actually seeing South Africa more or less in the middle of countries if you just rank them. So I can't recall which countries are above us or below us, but I don't care. The point is we don't seem to have too many public holidays compared to anybody else. I certainly think that it makes practical sense where you've got a demographic majority to take the religious holidays of that majority, because it just makes practical sense. Like in Israel, you had the Jewish holidays should be public holidays. In India, the Hindu holidays should be public holidays, and in Pakistan, the Muslim holidays should be public holidays, and in South Africa, the Christian ones should be public holidays because that reflects the demographics.
The majority, about 80%.
But then we've also got the nation building thing. What are we as a nation? That also unfolds in the public holiday. And then just from pure economics, you say, right, do they cost the economy? They may cost the economy, but we know when they are, right? So businesses plan around them. So if you're manufacturing, you might produce a little bit more ahead of a public holiday to take into account the public holiday. So when we say the cost, it's not like you take a day and say it's the same as the previous day, and therefore we produce so much in the previous day, we could have done that in this day, and therefore it has cost the economy. That is an erroneous way of thinking, because we do plan around it.
Yeah, you can cushion the
There's
effect.
in fact some of the holidays that are in fact crucial to the economy. I would defy any, let's say, non-Christian business to say, actually, we don't want Christmas. When it comes to the enormous retail sales, etc., that it generates, I don't think even from a business point of view you want that holiday curtailed. Right. Even if you were a strong atheist, you say, I'll stick with that holiday, thank you very much, because it means a lot in the till. So some holidays actually stimulate growth, ironically, but we're not machines.
Yeah.
All right, so I would ask the question by giving ourselves time to rejuvenate. This holiday, this Easter holiday, for instance, gives people time to go away for a holiday, for instance, and that rejuvenation means that we save costs of having to rehabilitate people who've just been burnt out. We have weekends, for instance, to rejuvenate as well, and public holidays should also be that way. In a sense, we should have one a month.
I love that. And that's why I would vote for you, sir. One public holiday a month. Not that it would make much of a difference for you and I, because we are still working. But in an ideal world.
Yeah.
I love the analogy that you used off air, saying you need to weigh the pros and cons as a business.
Yes.
Loss of productivity for that day, which you can plan for,
yes,
like you said, or the productivity that will come as a result of having your workforce having been rested.
Exactly. That's the point, is that if you think you're losing productivity because of the day, you're actually gaining. Do you want people to be there for a full day when they're exhausted and can only do a quarter day effective work? And then you think, well, that's a little bit silly.
Yeah.
Right, so it's better to have people who are charged and motivated and have got the energy to actually do full day's work, and that is far more productive in any case than having people that exist at work but are not, who are at work but are absent, if you like.
Yeah, they're not fully present. But let's do a bit of number crunching now, if we may. A holiday such as today, just the one day, we're not counting the Friday and the ones that are coming up next week. How much will it cost the economy just today?
No idea. I don't think that figure is easily determined because people plan around it. So I have a funny feeling that the cost of the holiday is actually relatively minimal to the economy. There will be some businesses who say, well, actually, right, we would have, actually they can determine a cost, but for most services, etc., you work around it. So I'm not so sure if the impact of that cost, the so-called cost that people are bleating about, is in fact that real, rather than something that is something that, you think of it, you go and leave, all right? You come back, the work hasn't gone away, right? You still do it, and you quickly have to catch up, and then you're back into the normal routine. What does the leave cost you? Cost the company? I'm not sure if it's cost that much. There are some businesses, obviously, where if not there, it's a permanent loss, as it were. But to a large extent, most people can work around it.
So do you reckon it's a myth then that the economy is hampered somewhat by all these public holidays that we have?
In some industries, it is a little disruptive. The mining industry is one of them, and that is a key start of a value chain, as it were. But I still think they can work around it, okay? And I think they do work around it. And if you try and see what the cost is, in terms of the operating thing, you say, okay, this quarter there's more public holidays and there will be a slight reduction in production. You could possibly work something out as to what it potentially cost, but I think the costs are exaggerated.
We're going to wrap this interview, but now some interesting points that you raised that we could actually do with one public holiday a month. I don't know if you're willing to put your head on the block for that one. Do you think that we could do more? We could have more public holidays?
Well, let's put them so it's nice when they're spread out, okay, because they do come sometimes a bit clumped. And
is it more devastating that way when they are so close together?
That's when the impact of the public holidays becomes more or becomes greater, and that you can start, say, possibly discerning some sort of cost. But there's, to determine a cost, you actually have to do major assumptions, on that. But I think it's when you have them close together that is when the impact is greatest.
Well, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for allowing us to pick your brain and bringing us some good news. Please go and whisper in the ears of all the relevant people who make the decisions when it comes to public holidays. And definitely, try and get us more public holidays. We don't have any in
November, and I don't think
we don't have any in November.
No, we need
to. Definitely. Speak to the powers that be and see what we can do. Thank you so much. That was economist Chris Hart joining us there. We can argue that fewer holidays would be a good idea, but as you've just heard, the contrary could also be true, especially when it comes to Christian holidays where people observe their religious festivities, and that's the predominant religion in South Africa. About 80%, I stand corrected there, but give or take a few. Stay tuned with us for our next discussion on the significance thereof of the public holidays. Some public holidays with historian Luli Kolonikos. She'll tell us about the historical significance, the cultural, the religious significance after the 7:30 headlines. Right now, though, a quick break to Valen. She's going to give us a sport update.